When I was a little kid, I had many visions seeing into my future life. During one of those visions, I was told by a lady who was with me and physically witnessed it that when I was older, I could become the first American Pope. After all, I was a Catholic boy, and I was a seer, she stated. I explained that wasn't true. I explained why and how in my future many would look down on me for certain reasons, which I explained in depth from what I was seeing and feeling. I stated from their opinions and judgments they would say I was unworthy and would go to hell. I saw and felt their judgments of me. I was literally seeing into my future life, and even through states of ego I would have, and the suffering I would personally encounter. I saw into various stages of my life and the man I was being, and the man I would struggle to become. I saw these things in visions as a small child. I saw into a traumatic childhood and teenage years where I would be severely abused by other kids because I was different. I saw into a culture of society I would have to grow up within that was not nice. As a small child, I saw into a horrifying world full of fear and judgment of others. Not only did I see my experiences of life yet to come, I saw myself during those time periods experiencing world events unfold, even seeing myself watching news reports as they unfolded many decades before they would transpire. I saw and felt that I was alone with no one to protect me. While I was trying to be a little boy, I literally saw and felt the PTSD that I would suffer as I struggled to grow up, and in doing so, had to overcome what I can only term pre-PTSD, as I continued to have the visions. I then saw a Polish man that I told them about that would come forward and become Pope, and that I felt he was a good man and do the best he could. I said much more as well. I told the two ladies witnessing my vision that I saw I would be put in a mental hospital at the age of 19 after I would have another massive vision, because those around me were unable to comprehend what I was going through. I remember one of the ladies claiming there was no hospital where I told them it would be. But the other lady said she had read in the news there was a very large one that was going to be built there in the future. Much more happened as well. Then my mother, who was in another room, overheard the conversation and the fact those two women were, if you will, picking my soul for information, and she started screaming at them and threw them out of our house. I was a curious little boy growing up who would at times suddenly question things one would think I should have no way of knowing. I even struggled with dropping into a very deep Scottish brogue when I was flustered. I was put through speech therapy to overcome it. I as well had extreme night terrors as a child of being a Scottish man who died on a battlefield. Even though I was baptized Catholic, we didn't go to church when I was little. My mother had gotten a divorce when I was 5 years old, and that was frowned upon. After some of those visions, as a child, I asked my mother to bring me to speak to someone from the church to help me. She brought me to the local archdiocese in secret without telling my stepfather. I won't go into too much of that here in this particular story of my life, though it turned into a horrifying experience when trying to find my words to explain what was going on with me. Sitting with him, I sensed what the man in the robes was doing to other little boys, and I loudly forewarned him he was wrong in doing it. My mother and I were thrown out of that building, and much transpired in the process. Many years later, after my mother passed on, my younger sister told me how she once asked our mother why we couldn't go to the Catholic church that all her friends went to. She said my mother simply stated that Keith yelled at a priest when he was a child, and I don't want to discuss it any further. Later in life, after Pope John Paul II had passed on, I again had visions of him. He came to me and showed me amazing things, things many would have issues with if I discussed them openly. People's own judgment of me would get in the way of hearing what I would say. I experienced much from him. The last time I encountered him, it was as if his spirit broke down inside of me and cried. It was an amazingly painful experience of feeling his deep love and also his deep pain and regret, while hearing his remorse over the fact he felt he failed at being Pope in the end, due to things that occurred around him that he did not know or have control of. The last images I saw in that vision appear to be the destruction of what has been currently going on in the Middle East now in the current years 2023 and 4, though it seems like more as well. I pray we, as a humanity, can learn the lessons of the past and as well learn from the future which has yet to unfold. I sometimes feel helpless to the karma of others and struggle for words to speak, to live authentically in this life that so many live within facades. So I speak when I am able. I say these words fully, knowing many people would not have the abilities to comprehend I am speaking truth. I say these things knowing what most people would think and feel about me on hearing this. I say these words because many times, as the saying goes, the world suffers a lot. Not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. I say these things because I know light and love is much stronger than the darkness of evil that so many allow to rule their lives and thus humanity. I say these things because I wish to hold the space for love and light and the truth that each of us are co-creating the future we all are waking up to each day. I say these words now because I now have gotten to a space in my life that I feel I am safer to speak. Regardless of if I am safer or not, I have more of an ability to speak. We live in a time period where the abilities of manifesting are so much greater and faster than in the past. Yet people still manifest unconsciously this concept of an end times of destruction and judgment. Many are quietly holding on to fears that we are in the end times. Many will literally tell you we are in the end times and Judgment Day is near. Some will even boldly claim they pray for Judgment Day and for those they judge to be on the wrong side of God to be destroyed. They proudly claim to know who is on the right side of God, so to speak. And they do this believing they are safe from the karma of their own actions. I say these things because when people speak like that, think like that, they are self-creating images they propel into the ethers that will look like that if they gain enough density to form on the planet. But not all things are what they look like. Does this God choose sides, or is God holding space for better and for us to overcome our own complicities of karma to be capable of loving unconditionally and to be love? I believe and see that many are glamored, much like what the vampires do in the movies, into a normalized version of politeness, which in truth is anything but nice. I see the wholesale disempowerment of swaths of populations as they are domesticated into submission within illusions of freedoms. A select few seek to control the narrative of discourse of society to retain their positions of power and privilege over others. I also see more spiritual light coming onto the planet from deep within the galaxy as the Earth moves into a higher dimensional field of space. There is so much light coming forward that the cognitive dissonance of humanity is being forced to evolve consciously within the realms of spirit in which they actually are coming from. Spiritual consciousness is coming forward within humanity. Those who have been sidelining and pushing people away from this thing we term God to stand on the shoulders of others within their faux righteousness in vain attempts to get closer to their God will be seen for what they are. The religious judgment of others is going to be turned upon themselves by their own accord. There is a massive watershed event taking place within humanity, and one needs to learn to have an ability of response for it, a responsibility. I believe that society needs to comprehend that the true definition of the word apocalypse actually means an unveiling to light. That is vastly different than what some are manifesting within their spiritual unconsciousness. I also say these things because as a little boy I had visions and saw that in my future some would claim I am unworthy and go to hell. I am no longer a little boy. I am worthy. I am unwilling to be silent while people who only know judgment are creating hell all around